Next, let's have a look at the experience score algorithm. You can access that quickly by clicking the settings button, which brings you to the experience score settings. The solution has 4 out-of-the-box profiles. You can recognize these by the little ControlUp bar. But these default 4 rules across unified communications calls, networking, VDI and DEX applications, and what we call the any application can be modified to your liking, or you can add new profiles. The built-in profiles guarantee that there's immediate time to value for a customer that is using ControlUp experience scoring. Before we look at these profiles, let's have a quick look here at the app groups. So you can set rules or profiles and conditions on individual apps, but you can also group apps logically together in an app group. So for example, there are some built-in groups, again recognizable by the little icon here, where we automatically have popular email clients, all common browsers, communication tools, collaboration tools, and VDI and DEX, which includes Microsoft, VMware or Omnissa, as well as Citrix. I can use AI to create new groups. So this will actually go look at all the applications that were run in the environment and propose a certain grouping. This takes a little while, so we've already ran one here. You can see it from this icon, where it recognizes various multimedia tools such as Spotify, some other multimedia tools, and group them together. You can also create an app group. I created this custom app group, super important apps, which includes, of course, the very important apps, Notepad, and WordPad. But this is the easiest way to kind of like group applications together that can then be used in a profile. So I already created a profile, so we're going to have a look at this important app group. Now, we can, of course, do individual apps, but as I said before, we already created this super important app, so we're going to use that app group. But if you want to create separate profiles, for example, for certain SaaS applications, you can also include those for unified communications and other applications. The conditions are the actual metrics that are being used. So I have very granular control over a variety of metrics, either on the endpoint, such as application crashes, CPU, memory, disk queue length, all those kind of things, network latency, all kinds of metrics. There are certain specific unified communications metrics, such as the MOS score, the round trip time, packet loss and jitter. And for VDI, such as user input delay, total session latency, user logon duration, a very rich set of metrics that will be growing over time. Each metric that's added can be assigned a weight of importance, so there's very granular control over the conditions and the rules. And finally, we can assign a profile to a certain group of devices or based on device tag. One thing that I want to highlight here is the any application. So we can of course set a specific profile to look after an application. However, if you don't configure anything, so you have no app groups, no apps, no URLs, and no unified comms, it will look at the overall performance of the device without taking into consideration the foreground app or anything like that. It will basically be a device profile. The last thing to highlight in this section is the privacy settings. First of all, the first layer is that you can collect only the experience scores for employees in specified domains. So in this case, nothing is configured. So we saw earlier that there were Gmail accounts and other kind of like personal accounts. If we would set this to just at ControlUp.com, then we will only collect data for devices that are actually using a ControlUp.com UPN, or are logged into Teams or logged in with a Microsoft account with using this specific domain. In addition to that, we can also restrict what applications and domains are being stored. So if you, for example, want to restrict a collection of information only for particular applications, particular domains, maybe you want to do some restrictions based on Active Directory group, and even restrict data collection across certain time zones or in certain time settings. So for example, during daytime only, during business hours, all these things can be configured, and these settings can be restricted by role-based access control.